This is the Upland Conservation Commission, Wednesday, April 23rd, meeting at 7 p.m. at the town hall. And we have several hearings that have been continued from April 9th. At 7 p.m. we have Milton 10, Lot 1, 169, Sawmill Brook Lane, or 169 South Street. And that was construction of a single family house. So Mary, you take it over.
Yeah, so we did get a DEP number for this one just last night. And the DEP comments had to do with 401 water quality cert, and that was pretty much it. Comments. So if I can pull that out if you want it. Should do that. Sure. So yeah, there's the water quality cert, and then yeah, that was the main comment. It looks like that he could do that or put a deed restriction on the property. So Rick, have you thought about which way you want to go, or we can just put that in the conditions as well?
Sue, you want to chime in?
Sure. Hi, my name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting. And for those of you who are wondering, why would we need a water quality cert? According to the water quality cert regulations 314 CMR 9, there is a provision in there if there is a subdivision or a project related to a subdivision, they want you to file a water quality cert application based on they're worried like that the property is going to be split up, and then the individual property owner, if it's sold off each individual lot, that if one of the property owners comes before you and they have a project that's going to impact a certain square footage of bordering vegetated wetlands or land underwater, and then the next property owner, at the next lot does the same. Eventually, they're worried that it's going to exceed the 5,000 square feet because it won't be, it'll be individualized or segmented, I should say, rather than as a whole. So therefore, they want to regulate that with the water quality cert, or put a deed restriction on the property, basically stating that it can't exceed 5,000 square feet, impact-wise can't exceed 5,000 square feet. So we have investigated both options and are still weighing how we're going to proceed. And we did, Rick brought in another party, a third party, to take a look at things. So so we will figure it out and let you know. But I was told by DEP that the issuance of these file numbers for the notices of intent can be considered separate from the water quality cert. Even though she put that as her main comment, but she said it's not going to hold up anything, as far as the issuance of the orders of conditions for these. So just want to let you know that.
Yeah, so I think, I think we can go ahead and issue the order, or close the hearing.
I have a question though. You mentioned earlier about putting it in the order of conditions, but if we're doing the order of conditions now, how do we?
Right, so I think I can write the order to say, if the 401K water, it sounds like you're getting a third opinion to see if it's required or whatever. We could say if it's required, please submit us a copy of the.
Mhm.
Exactly. Whatever we submit to the DEP is going to be transparent, and we will copy the commission on any submittals. So whether it be a deed restriction, you'll get that, or it's a water quality cert application, you will be copied on that as well.
Any other questions, Mary or the board? Okay, hearing none. Would you like to close the hearing? Susan or Rick?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion, to close the hearing. We have a motion
So
from the
moved.
board. Have a second.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Oh, my.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Like,
Marcella, I.
That's unanimous vote of the commissioners present. So Mary will work on the order and let you know when it's done.
Thank you.
So let's move on. You're welcome to the notice of intent for lot 2, 169 South Street.
Again, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right, go ahead.
Okay. Again, for the record, my name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting. Rick Morrill is the property owner and applicant, is also in attendance. And we have not received the DEP file number for this particular lot. We're still waiting. I suspect because it has riverfront area, which is maybe a little more complicated than just the buffer zone impacts, but I don't know. So this one, and I know you're going to get to the next one, but the next one will have to continue as well because no DEP file number for either lots 2 or 3.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
Mary, when would you like to continue these two? The lots 2 and lot 3.
They can be, our next meeting is May 14th, and I think we can just do it at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So lot 2 and lot 3 are continued until May 14th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
And now we have lot 4.
Yeah, so lot 4 was issued a file number, and that's 311-0840. And that came in at the same time as the lot 1 file. And again, I think it's basically the same comments about the water quality cert, right, Mary?
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So any comments or questions, Mary,
I think
or the
we'll just,
board?
I think we can just do the same thing as we did for lot 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so Susan, Rick, you want to close the hearing?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's have a motion from the board to close the hearing.
Second.
How about a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do it. Excellent. A voice vote. Chris, aye.
oh, my.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Like,
Marcella, I.
Okay, there's a yes vote of the commissioners present, and Mary will let you know when the orders are ready.
this us come up and maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
you're
Good
welcome.
night.
Okay, 75. Request for termination for 1
Huh?
Milton Street was continue,
Forget to turn
right, Mary?
in order. Yes, so 41 Milford Street needs to be continued, and they've asked to be continued until June 25th. And the email said that they were looking into the legality of the taking, because the pump station for that project, the town did not a taking with eminent domain. And so they're making sure that, they want to make sure it was done properly. And so that's one of the reasons for the delay.
Okay, excellent. And so we have a little bit of time because our next hearing is at 7:20. So.
Yeah, we should get a
preliminary.
motion to continue 41 Milford until.
Okay,
25th.
can we have a motion?
Second.
And so, voice vote, Chris, aye.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, aye.
And I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, unanimous vote of the commission members present. Okay, so we have about 9 minutes. Can we do the certificate of compliance for Clapham Farm Road?
Yeah, I'm sure we have Clapham Farm here and they'd be very happy about that. And that done and out of the way. All right.
It's 311-0769, 311-0787, 311-0790, 311-0791, 311-0781, and 311-0792, 311-0788.
No, but Mary has to let you in. Can,
Let Bill in. Okay, sorry.
Sign the attendance sheet.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that when I'm sharing my screen. All right, so I looked at all these orders and some of them are ready to go and some of them are not. Most of the ones for the houses are ready to go. There was 2 Claflin, 6 Claflin, 9 Claflin, 11, 13, and 15. 2, the bounds were, it looks like they were never installed, so we're gonna have to wait on that one. We can't issue that one. And then 15, there was a retaining wall built, and I just, because it was so close to the wetland, and I have a picture of it, I just thought it should be on the as-built. Here's this retaining wall, and it actually, it is the 50-foot no build goes somewhere in here, so I just thought that the retaining wall should be noted on the as-built. And you some time, a long time ago, you came before the board and said, you know, we need to put this in, and
That was correct.
so it's just, I thought that should be part of the as-built. So that one we're not going to approve tonight. And then the whole, the roadway, there were a bunch of things with that, the as-built plan, which I think I can show you guys. Here. Sure if I did. I think I just put the ones that we're approving. But the plans don't, they just show the roadway, they don't show all the wetlands, it doesn't show the open space, it doesn't show the open space markers that are required in the order, so I asked them to put all that stuff. Yes, well. And we can, yeah, so these were the kind of the conditions that I thought had something to do with whether or not we should issue, so there were bounds demarcating all the open space kind of at the corners. And I did go out in the woods and found a few of them. I didn't try to find all of them. One of the requirements was to make this trail. The trail's done. as-built plan does include all the drainage elements. It does show the wetland replication area. But it does not show like the elements of the project located within the 100-foot buffer. It's missing some of that stuff. It just kind of shows everything next to the road, basically, and the stormwater elements. So the wetland replication area, in our order, it calls for, 2 years of monitoring with reports done 4 times. So we have a final report and that's it. I mean, the area has been there for 3 years now. It looks pretty good. I think I've looked at it several times. So I think we can pass over it, and I'll just try to be better about reminding people to get these reports in, see, when it's time in the future, because it's kind of hard to reproduce something that, anyhow. Unless the board feels strongly either way about that. And then did you guys look into and maybe Bill knows about the land being recorded that was transferred to the town?
Yes, John Mastriani from Locusor. Yes, it was recorded.
Yeah.
I'll get your copy if you need that.
Okay, yeah, I have the deeds, but I'm not sure I have a recorded copy.
Okay.
And I looked it up, but there were so many deeds for Claflin Farm, I'll never find it. That would be helpful. So those are kind of,
Does the deed place in the Control Conservation Commission?
I believe it was the town.
yeah, we
Came
should,
up with the planning board, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, the planning board believe it when it goes to the selectmen in the town.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was. Well, it's required open space for an open space plan.
and look,
I think you need to ask that question. Often, it's just transferred to placed in care custody for Conservation Commission. If it's required. So, and also, you see maybe what the order of conditions said about that, maybe you said something.
as to the town of Upton acting through its conservation commission. Is that right language, Mike?
Yeah.
Did you need to, any other concerns with that? Because we looked at this and signed it, and you guys signed it a while back. Oh, remember the selectmen signed it. No, you guys signed it too. So that's the one. Do you want I can pull up the other one as well. Okay, that's only the open space B. Space A is, open space A was the state. Okay. All right, so that's all set, I think.
It's already showing up on the SGIS state layer, state first, state land.
Okay. Great. Okay, so that's set.
So with that said, are there any we can issue tonight, Mary, or wait?
Yes, no, we can issue, so we can do 6, 9, 11, and 13. And those are numbers, if you want the numbers, it's 311, 790, 311, 791, 311, 781, and 311, 792. Those can all be issued.
Make a motion to issue those certificates of compliance.
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon,
Um,
I.
Marcella, I.
That's a unanimous vote of the commission present. Thank you. So the others we continued, Mary. So which ones are still on the list?
So the ones that we still need to look at are number 2, number 15, and then the roadway. So those are DEP numbers 787, 780, and 769.
So we have a motion to continue.
They're done by next meeting, right?
I'm hoping to have it done by next Wednesday, so.
Okay, yeah, your next meeting's the 14th of May, so it should
Okay.
be, yeah. Should be good.
Okay, we have a motion to continue to 15 and the roadway. So we needed a motion to continue those. Our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
All right.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Michael,
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, unanimous vote of the commission to continue those until our next meeting. Excellent, thank you. And now we have our
Thank
NRED for 1. NRED for 1 and 3, Silver Street, 2 and 0 Grove Street, which was continued from April 9th.
Yeah, so there's no DEP number for this one either, so we need to continue this one as well.
Okay, so what time, Mary?
I guess we can do that one at, I would say 7:05.
Okay, excellent. So we have motion to continue these until 7:05, our next meeting.
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
All right.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Michael,
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, unanimous vote of the commission.
And motion again.
Alan,
And Sandy.
And Sandy,
Yeah, you
second.
guys, if you guys do it the way the whole meeting, it's great.
Yeah.
yes,
Engage, please. And then we'll move. Process along fast. Yes, exactly, it works. Okay,
And Mary, our certificate of compliance for 146 West Row Road.
yeah, that one's very easy.
It was 311-0797.
This was one of those Westboro Road lots. And this is
Excellent.
the backyard, it's everything stabilized, they have their bounds in, they did a beautiful as-built. There's no concerns,
Wow,
except bounds were too
Excellent.
short, but I that was fine, they're only like 8 inches out of the ground. It's okay.
so any questions on this one from the commission? Let's do a motion to issue this one.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
all right.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Michael,
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Yes, vote of the commission. Thank you, Mary. Okay, and we have 725 RDA 140 Warren Street. And this one. This is a new one, Mary.
Yes, it is. So notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public meetings on Wednesday, April 23rd. At 7:25 PM, an RDA filed by William Lane for the removal of invasives and restoration in wetlands and buffer zone, 140 Warren Street.
Excellent, thank you. So, do you have an applicant present?
Yes,
Yes.
Bill Lane is here.
Okay, so please explain your project for us.
Sure, I'm just, looking, it's just getting started with it. And, I'm looking to, identify what the invasive plants and problems are there. The area, when I moved in last June, was just so covered with thicket that you couldn't even walk into the area or see the area. Mary was down there when she looked at the markers when they put those in. And it was just overgrown with all kinds of stuff. And trees were pushed over and broken. And so I started to clean up that area a little bit, just to be able to see what was in there. And I found that it did have a lot of the invasive plants in there. And I have a kind of a short list of those that I found, but primarily it was the multifloral rose that was just all the thorns and everything that were in there, plus a lot of bittersweet and what is that? I lost the name of it right now. But anyway, my plan is to go in, identify what's there, to determine how I can put together something to get rid of those invasive species, and then look at replacing it with something of more native nature. And I want to do that. I want to try and get the plan done by by summertime, and then look at some replacement stuff this fall.
You,
Excellent, thank you.
you need a hand with identifying some of that stuff, I can always stop by and look at it too,
Oh, okay.
if you want.
Yeah.
You need to, if you're struggling a little.
Oh, well, actually, I got one of the apps now.
Oh, there you go.
It works really well. I tested it out when we were in at the Arnold Arboretum where everything's labeled and everything that I snapped a picture of it.
Wonderful, isn't it?
It is. That's great.
You don't get your tongue.
It's all right, I'm obsolete.
It's 1:40.
Right before,
Tell me it's right before 1:30.
No, Sandy, coming from your house, coming up Warren Street, it's the first house on the right.
Oh, all right.
it was Davidson's.
Mary,
Yeah.
do you
Yeah, right on the
Yeah.
corner.
comment?
Do you want to clear that?
Okay.
It's all wetland in there, isn't it?
Huh?
Yeah, the area where he's talking is,
It's the buffer zone area there.
Yeah,
That's what
it
I'm
is.
working on.
he probably, if it's like my yard, he is barberry and bittersweet and multiflora rose and.
Well, and you can see that the wetland, I think he was probably working in the wetland area. The
Yeah,
wetland is
it's
pretty
more,
close.
it's
to
more
the
along the
property.
driveway,
When that house was built, it was,
yeah,
a slim lot to
Right.
build on, so.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
so,
why I suspected.
yeah. But I think, Bill, you're working more towards the back of your lot, is that correct?
Well, the majority of it is in the back, but there is a strip along the side there as well, because there's a drainage ditch that goes right down through my
Right.
property. And I needed to get in there just to be able to see whether that was open or blocked or whatever, and it was pretty well blocked when I got in there. I also found that there was a lot of old tires and old pots, flower pots, the things just in there. I found a
Oh, no,
tree stand in there, a deer tree stand in there, half buried in there.
No, but I got the tree stand, they put it out for free.
Yeah, I cleaned it up, and put it out there, it was
I was
gone.
going by, I'm like, I'll take it.
So, yeah, yeah,
Those invasives.
Yeah, the invasives, when you get them out, Bill, they will be coming back, just.
Well, yeah, yeah, I've been reading up on this. I got this in at Arnold Arboretum. One of the guys gave it to me in there, and it gives a lot of great information. And how to get rid of them and how, and they do say that a lot of times you control them by just cutting them back year after year after year. And, you
It's a
know,
lifetime project.
it is, but, you know, I don't know how deep those things go yet, so how much I can do on my own.
Good China.
It's a multi-year effort.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not looking to finish this in a year. You know, I would expect it. And I do want to try and cultivate some of the blackberries that are actually not in the buffer zone, but they're just outside of it, right in the back of my yard. That was one thing. We had a ton of blackberries in there, but I couldn't get at them. So we picked the ones on the outside. The turkeys came by and picked the ones on the outside. Yep. So,
Any comments?
Yeah, so the other thing he wants to do, if you can see in this picture, I didn't take a picture of it, he's got a low retaining wall here that's, you know, 5 to 10 feet from the wetland, you can see this coverage there. That's falling down, he wants to
right,
kind of
it's leaning over. I want to straighten that back up
fix
if I
that,
can.
as part of that, this as well.
Yeah.
And then he had dug out the pipe that crosses his property at outlets, like pretty near here, and you had dug it out so that it had.
I cleaned out that channel that was
Yeah.
in there originally, because that was pretty much full of leaves and all kinds of junk. I found bags of cement in there that somehow got in there.
So it seems like it's a improvement to the buffer zone.
Does anyone from the commission have questions or comment? I would say you did a really nice job opening that up. Now it's an ongoing process. So do we have a motion to issue the determination?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Excellent. And Mary will write that up and get in touch with you when it's ready.
But just as a question,
Okay.
what is kind of the follow-on the process here? Just because I've never done something like this before, so.
Yeah, so I will write you up a piece of paper which has some of the conditions on it that we come up with, and I think I had recommended as a condition that you just submit like kind of
The plan.
you know, what plants you're gonna, it doesn't have, you don't have to necessarily draw out a plan, but what plants you're putting back in. And
Okay.
and then
Nothing crazy.
I don't think you need any
Okay.
erosion controls for this project. Just, you know, be cognizant if you're digging out like some of those rose roots to just try not to make huge ones.
I'm gonna make it as small
No
as possible,
equipment.
believe me.
Yeah, it's all like,
Motorized equipment.
yeah.
Yeah, I just want to bring something up. You know, one of the options is cut stump herbicide treatment. You cut, say it's a multiflora rose.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, half an inch in diameter. So you cut it near the ground. Then you paint it with a bit of freeze. Then the herbicides that you use the roots and you need stump or something like that. Kill them.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if you've been doing that, but, I mean, some people don't want to use inheritance. But, I understand that. But it's, you have a really hard time eradicating something like the barberry just by digging, because most of the time people try to dig it out, something's left.
Right.
It's kind of-
Much easier to
So-
cut it, grow and paint it.
and paint it, you know.
Use a brush when you
You
paint
can use a
brush.
brush, or you can use
Cotton ball and
Yeah, or one of
Walls,
those,
windows.
foam.
Yeah, cheap foam brush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so I don't know if you could add that.
Yeah.
To the negative termination that cuts some herbicide is permitted. Should the owner want to use that type of.
Bill, this is Chris. I have one question. What do you plan on doing with all the materials that you pull out? Will you burn it or take it away?
I don't know if I have a spot where I could burn it. I would like to, I was talking with the landscaper that I have that mows the lawn and stuff like that. And so he said he might be open to taking that away, depending upon how much of that I have. So, but what I do is I end up just cutting it up into small pieces. And, nothing over 6 inches long. And, I make a pile of it, and the stuff that I cut down there is actually still there in those pieces. And the only thing I'm worried about with that is that those pieces could root. So,
You should, there's no place burn season's about over, isn't it?
Yeah, end of April.
End of April, right, so, but there should be a spot you could just build a pile. Yeah, so,
get some sort of
January,
container or something to
just,
do it in.
yeah, you have to burn during burn season,
Right.
so. You have to
And
get
when
a
does
permit.
that typically here?
Starts like January 15th, doesn't it? It runs to, it depends on the weather, but typically runs to about the beginning of May.
Yeah, and
All
End of
fire
April.
department.
yeah, so how about the weekend?
Right, but if you just make a pile of it,
Yeah.
and then come the winter, you burn it. And I do it every year. And I
It'd be
do,
like my neighbor did it last week. It was like 30 feet high. It was higher than the pine trees. Oh, wow. I actually called the fire department. Other business.
Oh.
I expect they have a permit, but I'm concerned about all things are really on fire.
I have big fires too.
Well,
What?
I have big fires also.
Are they taller than the 30 feet pine trees, the flames?
Not 30 feet, they're definitely not 30 feet,
No,
but
but-
they're well over my head.
That's nothing.
so,
Never mind, that's
But,
the.
thank you, Bill.
Have a good evening, Bill.
Thanks.
You may as well start, there's like a ton of them.
And I am open to any suggestions or input, things that.
Don't you Google cut stump with invasives, it give you information. So the key thing is, if you're gonna do that, apply the herbicide very soon after the fact.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so we'll be. Okay, thank you so much.
You gonna come to everybody?
And
Depends.
Bill, Mary Wilkie,
My bag, yeah.
Isn't there one to sign it? Oh,
Well, I thought if you have more, you can sign and move it.
okay. We have a request for determination for a 71 tractor 91 draft permit for existing docks.
All right, so, notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public meeting on Wednesday, April 23rd at 7:35 PM, an RDA filed by Mark Sexton for a chapter 91 permit at 71 Crockett Road. And I believe we have John Federico here with us from Gurrier and Hanlon.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Okay. Good, how about John, if you can tell us about your project, please?
Sure. I do have a copy of the plan, if you folks would like me to do a screen share here.
Wait.
1 second. So we were previously in front of everybody back in, I think it was end of summer, early fall of 2024 for a notice of intent on this lot. We were taking down the existing single-family house and reconstructing a new one, pulling that away from the wetland, or not the wetland, but the north pond that we have out there. And then we were also going to be doing some work on the accessory unit. One of our conditions as part of the NOI approval was to make sure that the existing docks that we had on site were permitted. So we are starting that process now as we're getting ready to do some demolition out there. We have not gone in front of Chapter 91 just yet. I know typically they do ask for specific language on the docks. So similar to 93 Crockett Road that we were recently in front of the board for, we're filing an RDA to essentially kick off Chapter 91.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, what are your comments?
Yeah, I think this one is pretty simple. I did not like these docs, I believe, are, you know, I think they follow the Chapter 91 guidelines. And one of them is aluminum, the other one is wooden. There's 2 docks on the property. I think sometimes Chapter 91 has an issue with that, but I don't, this property is pretty wide, so I don't think it'll have an issue with that. And the docks themselves are kind of attached to a retaining wall. And they have, I guess they don't take them out in the winter, they're in all year round, it looks like. They have posts that go in,
I
or do they take them
think
out?
they might take out a few sections of them, but I don't believe they fully get removed. I would have to double check with the applicants on that if you do need follow-up at all.
I think we need to know that necessarily. I assume, well, maybe the aluminum one would be easy enough to take out. I assume the wooden one probably stays.
I do believe it does stay, and then it just kind of sinks when the tide's lower out at the lake.
Right. So, yeah. And just to recommend to go ahead and issue a negative determination of applicability. There's would not be any new impacts.
Okay. Any questions from the board or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to issue this negative RDA?
So moved.
Second.
To a voice vote, Chris, aye.
Aye.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Micah,
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Say that's a yes vote of the question for negative determination.
Great, thank you so much. I
And
do
Mary will
appreciate that.
You're welcome. Mary will get in touch with you when it's done.
Great, thank you so much.
You. Okay, now, how about administrator's report?
It was a busy week, busy 2 weeks. So I didn't end up putting pictures on everything, but there were a lot of site visits. I may get them in a report for next time. I was working on 64 Williams and 15 West Main Street. These were administrative land use permits. I think they're both fine. One of the units on 15 West Main Street, I did ask them to kind of some driveway drainage. And I'm still like developing the form. We don't have a form, so I have to make the form before I can actually issue the permits. So
Sure.
I know that's coming along now. And I got to look at 4 vernal pools. I started with the one on, which now has an address. The Puddin Street is now 200 West River. And I have, let me share the screen. That one was actually a really nice vernal pool. It's large. It was the biggest one that I looked at.
Is it busy?
And so this is the pool as it is. The water was pretty high. I went there twice because it was so deep. I needed waders to get in. I could see the egg masses like way over there, but they were 3 or 4 feet deep. It was very clear. So I ended up seeing 10. I took pictures of 7. So it's a very nice.
Wow.
Water's extremely clear. You could see the bottom, it's all pine needles. It's 5 to 6 feet deep in the middle. It's a very nice vernal pool.
Is this the one where they're taking the dirt out and stuff?
Yes. So and actually you can see, now this is an existing house. I don't know how far away that is on one side. And then on the other side, it's gonna be, oops, picture. And this is on the other side, her stuff.
How far is that erosion line?
I did not bring a tape. I think it's like 70 to 80 feet.
Yeah.
And we can look at it, maybe on your map. I think I should have pulled that up before the meeting. I didn't get a chance to. But I think I did look at it earlier. It's less than 100, I'm pretty sure, that there are disturbances. And the house site is like right over here. The septic is gonna be at approximately 100 feet from the vernal pool. And so that would be, the vernal pool resource area is 100 feet, and then there's a 50-foot no-build beyond that, so that's gonna be within that area. So what the board has to decide right now, I mean, she did give me permission to look at the pool. I'm not sure that she'll give me permission to certify it. But it doesn't matter because it still is jurisdictional under the Upton Wetland bylaw. So we're gonna have to decide if we're gonna ask them to move the house and the septic a little bit. It's a big lot. They do have a lot of area on that lot. I think I can pull up the plans if you want to look at them again. Maybe would you like me to? I'll do that. Pull up stuff. Let's see.
How feasible does it look to move it? We haven't mentioned to them yet, right?
She's.
Yeah, the Board of Health permit.
I think do. Huge. The vernal pool is approximately right in here. And here's their septic. So maybe the house may not need to move. The house is further away. They did not want to do a pump-up septic, of course. So that's why it's here. They could really put it anywhere. I mean, there's plenty of space here. So maybe we ask them to move the septic. Sure, she can afford a pump-up system if she needs to, or she can even dig down the yard area some more. So that's an option. And the other thing is the question, and I think we definitely want to have the engineer put the vernal pool on the plan so we can see where it is and put the resource areas. And then we may want to ask them to kind of cut out an area here to restore back to what it is.
Bounds and
Right.
at a minimum bounds and maybe some plantings sometimes.
So think about if we're gonna ask them to move that septic or just simply, I guess the bare minimum would be to get it on the plan.
Plan and bounds for sure.
Plan and bounds for sure, and then whether we ask them to move anything or do any restoration. It's another question.
Well, are they aware of what it is?
I told her when the second day was done what it was. She wanted me to come back and make sure there were tadpoles later. She's like, well, the eggs might not survive, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Some years they don't, some years they
Yeah.
dry.
So-
They dry out.
And if the pool dries up, this was the biggest pool that I looked at of all the pools.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what the vernal pools are. Some years there is no reproduction.
Right. So this one seemed like it was in pretty good shape. So I think the board just really has to think about what the next steps are.
Where's the road and where's the driveway compared to the house?
Okay, so here's the
There's the road,
driveway
that's right.
and the road's way over here. It's not even.
So it's big, why don't they put it on the other side of the property?
Yeah, there's plenty of room. There's, I mean, it's already disturbed, but there is plenty of room. It's just the engineering costs to move things around.
Oh,
But I mean, I don't know that it would be,
So what do you propose we ask that the system be out of the resource area
Moved out of the 50-foot.
or out of
the
the,
50
out of
foot.
the bill too, yeah.
I mean, everything's on paper now. They haven't
I
corrected
think it's-
anything yet.
Ask them to explain why they can't do it out.
Yeah.
No bills.
well, I think once she realizes what the value of the pool and the rule, maybe she'll just say,
Yeah, well, she wanted to turn it into a duck pond.
that's helpful.
Yes.
Ducks.
Some wood ducks.
Yeah, I don't know. So she, I mean, she was
Maybe
hoping to
nothing
kind of
will
make it into
survive.
a landscape feature. And I said, well, you probably can't really touch it.
Right. Yeah.
She could put a pond somewhere else. She's gonna burn.
Also making bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's our consent?
so I think we should certainly, I think, ask them, we'll discuss it about moving the septic system.
Moving septic and the house. I mean, I think the house is probably already out of it.
Yeah, I think the house, maybe we should just leave the house alone, but,
Okay,
but move the septic system and then maybe, replant that area.
Inbound.
Inbound.
I would say put the real pool with the wells on the plans.
Yeah. put the well in.
the bounds would go with the 150 feet.
Yeah.
And tell her how fortunate she is to have such a lovely specimen under her protection.
I'll find it that much when it costs them.
Just saying.
Did you know what those egg masses were?
They were a salamander, yeah,
They were solid.
yeah. Yeah, they were.
Red ones? Yellow ones? Can't tell.
Spot eggs.
Right. Marble.
Yeah. Okay.
So do we need more there? Or
So maybe we should
suggestions?
take a motion for that, if we're agreed on making sure the septic is out of the vernal pool resource area. And replant, make sure that whole area is replanted.
So submit a replanting.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
Thanks, so moved.
and also the bounds and the real pool on the
We put it on the plan.
We're making a motion.
Second,
to a voice vote. Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Micah.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what of the question. Thank you, Mary.
yeah. So the other vernal pools. I made it to the ones on Mechanic Street. I looked at just two of them, or Pleasant Street, Pleasant Woods. I made it to those. I looked at two of them. One of them is definitely certifiable. The other one only had 4 egg masses. It was all wood frog eggs. I didn't get to the other two, maybe tomorrow, but if I don't do it tomorrow, I think the season's over, because even last week, all the little wood frogs, they were hatching, they're like.
In the coop.
Yes, flying the coop. And interestingly enough, I also did. Well, I looked at 169 South Street and there's nothing in there. There was nothing there last year either. But that one's almost dry this year. It's very low. It was nowhere near as big as we saw it that one year. I bet
The water went, drained out.
it's just a dry year. We're still in drought status.
Yeah.
Which to me is interesting that one West River is so big when we're in drought status. Like, what is it like when it's?
My area doesn't feel like drought status. I
Right.
can't go to my lower yard without boots.
Because of the beavers in there, right?
No, because it's the
It's
way
just
life
really-
is there, you
It's
know.
where my
that's
yard
what-
is too,
Yeah,
my backyard.
Yeah.
Dog drinks out of the lawn.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh,
yeah, who knows?
And the other vernal pool I went to is the one 52 Elm Street, right next to Kiwanis Beach Road. And we had asked him to put plantings in there. And of course, he's still mowing on the other side of the plantings. Try not to give him a hard time on that, because he's gonna let us certify the vernal pool. And there was a ton in there too, both salamander and wood frog eggs. That was a nice one. I found like 7 in like literally 10 feet, and that one's really murky. It was kind of harder. It wasn't as pretty as the one on West River. So that was vernal pool.
very innocent.
So yeah, I think we're gonna, the one on 52 Elm Street, he's okay with us to go ahead and get that certified, and those lots on Kiwanis Beach Road, they're gonna be in front of us. They've already been before planning board for a subdivision on uphill side. They're trying to put houses in there, so. That may affect those lots. So that was a good deal. I met a couple times with the Dogwood Drive situation. Joe Layden had us meet with town council just to talk about what the town's responsibilities were, and the lawyer was gonna check to make sure, absolutely sure, that the public is allowed on that open space parcel in the deeds. And I don't know, I haven't heard the result of that, looking. And then Cindy Alexander asked us to walk the trail. She thinks it's been moved.
Where is this?
This is.
Dogwood.
Oh, Dogwood.
Yeah, there was, anyhow. Cindy Alexander and Stephen Earl had a bit of a tiff, so
But that's not our issue.
that's not really our issue. But because Cindy Alexander has, been calling the town manager and Stephen's been talking to other members of town employees too. So, but I think it's kind of simmering down now. And it should be okay. But we may have to, end up, I think in front of land stewardship is to fix the signage. Because there's just paper signs with plastic sleeves over them, so we need to get real signs. So that's that. There was a complaint, and I do have a picture of this. Complaint about erosion into Lake Wildwood. This is the DOT facility. And you can see there is definitely a channel or a gully coming up from the parking lot. Pretty well established. Goes down, there's the lake. But it seems to peter out. It doesn't seem like it, or if it goes, it kind of spreads out. And by the time you get to the lake, it's not super obvious. But obviously in a really bad storm, I'm sure it's making it. So Mike and Joyce let us look at it from her property. So I think the idea is to maybe ask them to put a few
Check dams or
check
something.
dams across it, just to slow the water down and to
Some
kind of stabilize it a little bit.
silt.
Yeah. Slow down. I
Do we
think
need
that's,
a letter about that, Mary?
we're gonna need a letter, and I guess that goes to the town or to the.
Give it to Bill.
Bill, do you have any comments about this?
It sounds like, you could benefit from some check dams on the DOT property as well,
Yes,
so. There's the channel begins
on, right next to
on the
yeah.
DOT side.
It's a DPW, it's a DOT.
Yeah, well, if a fence, I don't know where the bounds are, where the property lines are exactly, but the dam is on the channel. I think, didn't Joyce say that the the DOT property is leased from town?
I think there was
I don't
something
know.
like that.
No, that's
Probably
verified.
our responsibility anyway.
It's verified.
Yeah, then it may be the town's.
I thought that was a DPW, but it's DOT.
Yeah, that's from the state. State.
I guess, I never paid much attention, I assumed it was the towns.
And the paperwork to sign.
We did sign a whole mess of
Signed them
stuff.
all.
Excellent.
But the
All right. How about expense
Well-
vouchers?
What would,
Yeah, Chris, do you think we should have a motion on talking to the DPW or writing them a letter asking for check dams?
Excellent. We have a motion that we're going to talk to the DPW and write a
Come on.
letter about check
Second.
dam. Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy,
okay.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
2 minutes for the question. Okay, how about expense voucher?
Yes, the
motion to pay the bills.
an expense voucher. So it's for the newspaper ads, and then
BD Works.
yeah. So the town actually, somebody put together getting some shirts for employees, like, cause the new building inspector needed some, and some of the other people just wanted to not have to dress up and wear a polo shirt with a town logo on it. So I got a shirt and a lightweight jacket, so that's what the $82.
Getting some
Okay,
slack.
do a motion.
So move.
Second.
Yeah, and if you guys want, I can pay for it out of my pocket, but Mike's like,
They would think it was.
Stand your case.
Chris,
Tom, aye.
Alan,
aye.
Sandy, I.
My time.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Minutes for the question. Excellent. Now, how about our financial update, Mary?
I didn't do one, it was crazy.
Okay.
There are some
Open
more
thing.
things on my report though, if you want. Can we look at one more thing on my, or one or two more things on my report? Or maybe, and I don't remember our last one agenda, maybe this is on the agenda, I don't think so though. A woman called wanting, this is 12 Brasso. And we did give her an emergency cert last year and she never did it. But she wants to remove, and the water's lower this year, but she wants to have somebody come and take out large sections of the dam as much as possible. She does own the pretty much whole thing.
Where is that room?
So if you go into Goss Pond, the Brasso is to the left and she's all the way at the end.
Okay.
And so it's that wetland that kind of goes up near the Goss Pond Road. And apparently it used to always be just a grass meadow, and then the beavers, and then
Those beavers still there,
to me, it looks like it's lower, but
because the beavers still there, they're just gonna rebuild.
Any infrastructure risks? Septic system.
yeah,
house.
so if you look at this picture, the house is pretty far away, lawn is here. This is the flooded area, although it's not as high as it necessarily would be. She's got a bunch of trees in here. Now this is a pano picture, so I don't think it's maybe not hard to see the dimensions, but it's not super close. And it may kill a few trees, but even there's plenty of the live trees next to the dead trees. The beavers would have to build it 5 feet taller to really get it into these pine trees.
Likes to see view.
Yeah.
With the dire wolves.
Yeah.
Be someday.
Yeah. So. But I mentioned that to her that, I'd have to ask the board, and she's like, well, you guys gave me one last year. So,
So she's really just looking for an extension.
These are emergency certs, so they're only good for a month.
Oh,
We gave it to her last
Okay.
year. Yeah.
sure.
A motion.
Get to it
Issue
anyway.
emergency-
Costs a lot of money to get something like that done.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to all be done by
At
hand.
least she'll be able to do it. She needs, can.
A motion to issue an emergency certification for the Beaver
So
issue.
moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Chris, I.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Shannon,
No,
Mike,
Mike's the no.
Marcella and I.
Okay, it's a majority vote to issue the emergency cert.
And one of the other things, Jack who is our intern for GIS, he's doing a presentation for the Board of Selectmen on the 6th. I thought you guys might want to see his presentation, yes or no? It's 5 to 10 minutes
I'm
long.
out of town.
But at our next meeting, the 14th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like a little video
Yeah.
clip or something?
Well, I think it's just a PowerPoint.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, okay, I'll ask him to do that.
Thank you.
What's it about again?
He's been doing
Oh, the
GIS work for us.
Yeah, that's good, because I don't know much about that. I haven't used it.
Mary, is everything he done now, T drive or your computer or wherever it's gonna live?
I think
Final resting place.
I'll check with him. I think it all is.
That's good.
Yeah, he's got that.
But we don't want to lose his one.
Yeah, no, we do not want to lose his work. And I should just make sure, have him show me everything before he leaves. Yeah, and the vernal pools I practiced with, he showed us how to use field maps, which you can download onto your phone and take points. And so I took points all around the 3 vernal pools that I did. But of course, they're all over the place. It's not super accurate. Doesn't make a nice circle like it is in real life. And he was gonna try to show me how to turn that into a polygon. So see if it works. So
Open space.
I need to allow Bill to speak. Sorry, Bill, I didn't promote you to a panelist earlier.
Well, wait, we need to congratulate Shannon on doing the
open
Earth
space.
Day.
Yeah, a couple of things, Mary. I will send you the invoice for the Fay Mountain Road appraisal tomorrow. And if you could get that in, that would be great, because otherwise I'll be hearing from the company soon. I don't really have anything specific to report this evening. We will be probably meeting on both the Fay Mountain Road project and the Forest Heights project between now and the next meeting, so I'd expect to have some updates at that meeting. And
Any questions for Bill?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bill, what was the cost of the appraisal that the town's paying?
$4,250. It was $8,500.
Excuse me? 4,250?
Yep.
Okay, make a motion that Mary's authorized to create a voucher for that expense once she receives the invoice.
Second.
Let's do all in favor. Chris, I.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Mike,
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Yes, vote the commission.
Great, thank you. And that's it for
Welcome.
me.
Thank Okay, thank you. Well, Lance Richard,
Planning a work day, probably this weekend at the Robertson Family CR to reestablish a trail. And hoping to have some Boy Scout help in carrying materials later in May.
I have a request. I don't know what our funding is these days. If we, are we, is there a limit to what can be spent? We need to buy more trail markers for, most of them are for the District 9 property. But we have two options. One is to purchase enough just to get us into just to get all those trails marked, but we won't have any left over to do other trail work. And that would cost about $240. And if we were to buy all the medallions that we really need, it would be close to $500 and free shipping. Hey. So I would love to be able to make the larger purchase, but if we are limited to what we can spend, I will have to just buy the lesser.
Well, I mean, we can spend $500. I mean,
Yeah, anything over 1,000 needs to go through the town manager, but.
Okay.
So, and it looks like this is, of course, from 2 weeks ago, but we haven't been spending a ton of money.
How much is left in our discretionary, fiscal year account?
The 4,164.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're probably just
Well,
gonna 50 of that for Robertson, but that's still plenty left. That we're gonna end up giving back to the town.
we have a motion to order the extra medallion.
so moved.
yeah.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
All right.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
My God.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I. Thank you.
Yes,
That
vote.
is a big help. We'll get that done.
Anything else, Marcella? No, we need to.
The only other thing, and I haven't had time between being having a cold and not just having a busy week, I have not been able to get over to Dogwood Drive to put the poop fairy signs up. So we do have them, but maybe this weekend when we're doing some work on the trails, if there's an extra body or two to, we can just go down there and put those up, and maybe that will help things out a little bit over there.
Marcel, I think
How about Shannon?
it's best to do that, but given the personalities involved, maybe just make sure you go with somebody.
Yeah, I didn't want to go by myself. That's why if we have extra people on our work day, if not, I'll round somebody up. And I don't expect to be putting more than 3 or 4 up. I just in strategic places. Also, I imagine it would be a good idea to put some up on the side by the writers' property. What's the status of that right now? Do we want to just leave that alone until things are confirmed as far as access goes, or is it prudent to put up some signage there too? Not just poop signs, but regulation signs.
So that's been a little bit on the back burner, but one of the good things that came out of talking with the lawyers, I said, hey, what's going on with that? And she said, oh yeah, she's working it out with the Eastland lawyer, and it sounds like they've got to work through, they're just checking it, where they will be able to change the the rear access to be what we wanted it to say, to be correct. But we still have to change the easement with the writers.
Okay, so I'm not gonna mess with that right now. Doesn't sound like we're there yet.
Yeah, maybe once Lauren is here, I can tackle getting that surveyed.
Okay.
And the other, yeah. The Eastland people, they didn't want to touch the other end. But yeah,
I think, we asked the register just some legal opinion, if there's anything we can.
right, that's true.
Do to read look at the old plan carefully and read the deeds carefully. See if there's any.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and one of my visits was to 10 Dogwood, which is across the street from 7, which is where Cindy lives, and he was he wanted me to look at trees, but he was like, the whole neighborhood loves walking the trails, and we'd love to see something more. That was his statement. So.
It'd be a nice amenity for the neighborhood.
It really would be.
They wouldn't get a billion people from the outside coming in. It would be a neighborhood.
It would be really nice for the neighborhood. And it sounds like a lot of people already use the limited stuff that's there.
Okay, let's hear from Shannon and Earth Day.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so that was a whirlwind kind of pulling everything together. Thank you so much, Bill and DPW, for helping me so much. I've been in touch with, sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, in touch with Lynn Haggerty, throughout the process. We had a pretty good turnout on Monday, just given the short notice. I think I handed out around 30 bags on Monday. And there are bags at the town hall and at the library. So yeah, it's been going well so far. Thankfully.
That's terrific. Do you think you might take it on for next year and just give yourself more time to plan?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I have actually heard from a few people who wanted to step up and didn't, and they're willing to help me for next year. So I'm hoping to do that next year as well. So it can be a little bit more organized and coordinated.
Well, you did a great job, and there's purple bags up and down the streets of Upton ready to be picked up. This is great.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to kind of pull it together at the last minute, even if it wasn't, what everyone's used to every year, for the most part, can get the trash picked up, which is the goal.
Thank you, Shannon.
I hope Barthol, 2 people sick is not good. So, anything else for tonight? Mary, are we all set?
Just an update on the trail bridge.
Yes. So I talked to the lawyer, and I even brought a piece of paper to fill my notes on. So there's a whole bunch of questions about the bid. He wanted to require a 50% payment bond. He had questions about the dates. He was willing to and this may only make sense to Mike. He was willing to get rid of the liquidated damages portion. But for the job hazard analysis that you had posted from Somerville, he said, oh, that's fine, but we just need to put our own, we can't just use theirs, we'd have to put our own name on it.
Sure.
And then he wanted to clarify the funding. Oh, he wanted to know if there was DOT funding, just CPC. And then the prevailing, you wanted us to figure out the prevailing wage rate from the Department of Labor or something. So that was the gist of that conversation. And then he said he would make edits and get it off to you. Of course, that was last Monday. I'll give you Monday, I think. It's oh, I'll get it off in the next few days. So it's been over a week. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, I apologize, I missed the meeting, I just had a wrong date in my mind. But can we do anything about the request for a bond? I just think a bond might discourage bidders. No, it's a large bond, he's talking 50%, which is like probably around $50,000-$60,000 bond.
Who's asking for the bond?
Lawyer.
Laura thinks it's necessary, so it's something we'd have to probably go to Joe and say, do you
Yeah,
Why does he want the bond?
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, what's the concern, right?
Well, sometimes
Somebody
the
puts
business
a bid
require
in for
business.
a bond, it's like putting your money where.
I know. Alright. We're doing a little break or something.
no, not a huge project.
What?
It's not a huge project, so I'm just worried, you know, I think we're gonna lucky if we get one bid.
Yeah.
Just don't wanna discourage somebody.
Seems like a little overkill.
Yeah, I think so. And if they walk away, you know, and it's partially done. You know, it's not like they're gonna leave something that there's a huge liability that the town's gonna have to clean up.
Someone else will finish it, you know.
You just said you're just gonna have to pay someone else to finish it.
I'll see if I can, Joe's on vacation right now, but he just got next week.
So just be, that's like the sense of the commissioners.
Yeah.
Try to avoid the bond. Other bond anyway.
Do we have to pay money up front?
No.
Okay.
That's something,
That's one.
I did propose like a payment schedule, but you talk about that.
If we don't have to pay up front, then I don't know why we need
No,
more.
we're not paying.
You don't have to pay the materials.
If we don't, then.
I didn't take any notes on that.
Okay, but there was, you know, I had sent in an email, and sent something, so. You know, finish the abutments, pay, set up, I said 40%, so 30%. Get the ID man, 30%, get the decking stuff, final payment, 3 or 4 payments. So they know they're gonna get paid along the way. As major milestones.
They're not the checks cut from the town.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're gonna pay right away.
Yeah, takes a month, but.
And, you know, just express the attorney that to move quickly, if we'd like, you know, have a chance for this. You know, we awarded a town for November 15th construction. Or October 15th construction. October, November. Whichever it is.
I think it's October 15th. Yeah, because I looked that up for him.
That gives them, you know, a few, month or two when it's time to go to departments, concrete.
Well, I hope everyone gets healthy and we can see people at the town meeting on the 1st. So anything else tonight?
Nope. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Chris,
Aye.
aye.
Bye.
Oh my.
Ellen, aye.